Hey guys, Jamie here. I will be giving you a couple updates today, but I will be going to school soon. My plant will be that I work at is shutting down, so I'll be using the severance pay to go to vet school. Well, vet tech school, and so I'm not 100% sure what my schedule is going to be, so I can't guarantee what times I will post videos, but I will still post one every day. And as I mentioned last week, the videos that are in between Timu reviews, because I don't get reviews every day, will be based on mythology, folklore, such like that. I'm going to start telling you stories. So before I get into today's story, I do have a couple of disclaimers. Number one, this story does contain it's ancient Greek. It contains rape, victim blaming, violence. So if those are things that trigger you, that's completely understandable. There's no judgment. Just go ahead and move on to another video, and that is just fine. But the other disclaimer is these stories are ancient, and they've been passed down mostly orally through centuries before they were ever even written down. So there's a bunch of different versions of the stories. I'm telling you the version I've heard most, or even sometimes that I like the best, or even sometimes that make the most sense, because a lot of them can be confusing when you start getting into some of the different religions and ancient gods. So if there's a version that you like better, please put it in the comments. I would love to hear it. However, please don't get angry with me if I tell a version that you're not as familiar with or don't like as well. There are several different versions, and it's okay. But that being said, today I am telling the story of Medusa and Pegasus. So Medusa was beautiful, a beautiful woman. She, at the time, could have married into wealth and had, I guess, as good of a life as any woman could at the time period. But instead, she devoted herself to the Temple of Athena. And one thing with the Temple of Athena, you had to be a virgin. She had to devote herself into chastity and never give herself to a man. Most men left her alone at that point because nobody wants to anger Athena. But Poseidon was a god. And when he saw Athena, he wanted her. So he appeared before her and he offered her gifts and promises, but she still turned him down. She was devout. But Poseidon didn't take no for an answer, and he forced her. Athena, when she realized this, she knew she couldn't do much against Poseidon. I mean, they could have an all-out war, but neither would win. So instead, she took her wrath out on poor Medusa. Medusa's legs fused together and became that of a giant snake. Her hair on her head started writhing and became thousands of smaller living snakes. Her skin lost its color, became gray, corpse-like, and fangs sprouted from her mouth. She was so hideous to look upon that anyone that did so would turn to stone. And she was cursed. In most stories, her sisters were also cursed with her, but in this one, we will just focus on Medusa herself. So she fled. She fled into a cave and tried to basically hide from the world. But the world didn't hide from her. Human nature, oftentimes, we tend to put pride and bragging rights sometimes above survival. We want to be known, especially men of that time period. And so thousands and thousands of warriors came in an attempt to slay the great Medusa, and all of them turned to stone. Soon her cave was filled with a mausoleum of men. But eventually there was a young demigod, technically, child of Poseidon, that came into age. And he came to slay Medusa, but he had presents from the gods. There are different versions of that as well. In some cases, it's Hermes' sandals were given to him. In some cases, it was a magic sword. If you go with Clash of the Titans, it's even an owl, although I can guarantee it wasn't Pegasus. But the most important and most common is a shield. A shield that was treated in such a way that looking at the most common of his gifts was a shield. A shield that was treated in such a way that, in looking upon it, Medusa's reflection wouldn't turn him to stone. He'd be able to survive that. And he backed into her cave, shield raised, watching her through its reflection, waiting for her to get close. And when she finally was curious enough as to why he wasn't turning to stone and got close enough to him, he closed his eyes and twirled with his sword arm outstretched and lopped off her head. When she fell, blood leaked from her neck, but not just blood. Suddenly a winged horse, beautiful white winged horse, leapt from the stump of her head. It appeared that when she had been raped, they had conceived a child, and that the curse had put that child into stasis up until she was killed and therefore lifted the curse. Now, yes, I know babies don't come from the head, but this is a common trope in Greek mythology that babies jump out completely whole from a different part of the body from the uterus, sometimes even from males. But Pegasus was pure. Despite being conceived of rape, despite being born under violent circumstances, he was probably the purest of all the Greek mythologies. When he would walk, flowers would sometimes bloom at his feet. Stomping his foot would bring about fresh springs, life-giving springs that were so desperately needed, especially on an island where most of the water was saltwater. And he often did errands for the gods, gave heroes a ride on his back. He even sometimes would help the dead to reach the river Styx, help their souls find where they were going. He was selfless, he was good. He brought life. And to me, that is why Pegasus has always been my favorite. Because he shows that even in something absolutely horrible, eventually good can come out of it. I have a Pegasus tattoo on my shoulder. My bedding. Let's see, I can show you my pillow. Well, you can't see it very well. But my bedding is Pegasus. At the moment, I change it once a week, but at the moment it's Pegasus, and I have Pegasus artwork on my walls. I absolutely adore Pegasus. I even have some jewelry that is Pegasus-based. But if you liked that story, and this is my first story, I promise they'll get a little better. But if you liked that story, please go ahead and subscribe. And I will talk to you later. Thank you.